Good evening. The meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gorski, may we please have a roll call?
Certainly. Mrs. Arminio.
Here.
Mr. Chiarella. Mrs. DeMeo.
Here.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Mrs. Lang.
Here.
Mr. Pelori.
Here.
Mr. Ryback.
Here.
Mrs. Siegel.
Here.
Mr. Tefano.
Here.
Mr. Rutsky.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum present this evening. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted August 16th, 2019 at all schools, the Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you. So before we get into the approval of the minutes, I would just like to thank Mr. Ryback for the fantastic job you did in filling in for me when I was away in July. And this makes me feel like I could do it again and know that I'm left the board in capable hands. And I'm sure you did, but I would like to welcome, because this is the first time that I've had the opportunity to sit here with Dr. Alvick as our new superintendent, and I'm very excited to move forward sitting next to you with Mr. Gorski and working together. Thank you. So at this time, we'll have the approval of the minutes for the Public Board of Education meeting, June 19th, 2019.
So moved.
Mr. Pelori, and second by Ms. DeMeo. Any additions or corrections? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Recuse? Okay, then the closed session meeting of June 19, 2019. Motion and a second.
So moved.
Ms. DeMeo? Second by Mr. Ryback. Additions or corrections to the minutes?
Madam
Ms.
President,
Arminio?
I'd just like to say that the closed session minute meeting, since it's over, I'm not going to say anything specific. However, you have a one-line statement about the superintendent evaluation, and I think it should be a little bit more detailed than that. It was a lively discussion, and again, I don't think it's reasonably comprehensible to have nothing at all on that closed session, so.
Okay, thank you for your comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes.
You're
no.
opposing? Okay, Ms. Arminio is
So
opposing.
moved.
Any abstain or recusals? Okay, then the Public Board of Education meeting of July 17, 2019.
So moved.
Mr. Pelori, second by Mr. Ryback. Additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I am going to abstain.
So noted.
Any recusals? Then last, the closed session meeting of July 17th, 2019. Motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Ms. Arminio, Mr., I keep thinking of what Mrs. Lang always says about you, but we'll call you Mr. Rutsky. Okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it was nothing bad. Any additions or corrections to the closed session minutes?
I would just like to say, since I frequently object to closed session minutes, in this one was about students and a settlement, so I do think that it was reasonable that these closed, under this particular case, that these closed minutes were appropriate.
Okay,
But primarily, they are not, but this one is.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm going to recuse,
So noted.
and I'm going to abstain, not recuse. Okay, and no recuses. So at this time, we have one presentation on our agenda this evening. We would like to have an update on the ad hoc committee, and I have asked Mr. Lou Masters, who is chair of the ad hoc committee, to come before the board and the public this evening to give us an update on what's been going on with the ad hoc and where we stand at this point. Thank you, Mr. Masters.
Thank you. Don't worry, it's not that long. I have a lot of papers, though. So, again, thank you for letting me give an update to the board president and to the Board of Ed. I know.
There you go.
Can you hear me now? Better? I don't want to get too close because then it's... So yeah, I am the chair of the newly sanctioned ad hoc, basically the extension of this Board of Ed to look at growth or issues with growth and how it relates to this Board of Ed in this district. I want to make this a regular update to the Board of Ed so you're all filled in. Yes, it is a public meeting, very transparent. You can come, but again, I'd rather come here and basically brief you and answer questions about what's been going on and what we've been talking about. Now, the committee, I'm going to start from the very beginning, and then hopefully this is the last time we'll have to talk about this. The committee was built from a wide, varied, different demographic of the entire district, right? We have parents and teachers and retired folks and business people and all kinds of that. We did that basically so that we can get a different level of brainstorming and try to figure out what we're going to do to address this growth. Now, the function of the committee, in case you've heard, is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. I mean, in the past, we've all gotten together as a committee, hundreds and hundreds of people. We've brainstormed ideas, we've vetted them, we've gone through, the same people have talked about it, and we've proposed them to the Board of Ed. This one, we thought, we're not going to be the sole source of ideas this time. We're going to go out to the community and ask them for help. Right? Now, why did we do that? Well, recognizing that a committee can't have all of the expertise that your community is going to have. We need to leverage all the educational expertise we have in town, teachers, administrators, past staff, all the people with the business acumen that we have, a lot of people with a lot of business expertise, a lot of political expertise that we have and how to move around the bureaucracy, and also the people that have this passion to see this school district succeed. So that's why we wanted to go out and solicit ideas. Now, that doesn't mean people on the committee couldn't have ideas too, but we wanted to just make sure we got a varied set of proposals to the committee. My son always says it's like we were crowdsourcing ideas for how to address issues with the district. Now, over several weeks, we held it open for several weeks, we extended it a little bit. We got 31 plus proposals. I think there was 2 extras that were actually submitted the night of the last day for the proposals. They all went to the committee, right? The only thing I asked Dr. Alwich to do was obfuscate the names or any kind of identifying remarks, but everything else was intact. And what we did after that was we met about 3 weeks ago to basically develop the proposal requirements, right? We didn't want to do it ahead of time. We wanted to do it in collaborative. We wanted to do it in public so everybody saw what we were doing. We also had to establish expectations. Going into this, there was a lot of expectations about we're going to do this or we're going to do that, and we had to make sure that the committee knew that all we can do basically is recommend to this Board of Ed what we think is a really good idea or we think is a good idea for growth or addressing some of this. And that's pretty much where it stops. All right? I always say that this committee, the Ad Hoc Committee for Growth, is an extension of the Board of Ed. It's a temporary committee that the Board of Ed is using to basically source ideas. So after that, what we did is we had to address these 31, or we had to look into these 31 plus proposals, 32 or 34, whatever it is now. We broke it into 2 different phases. Right? The first phase we always call triage. That's what we always call it, where you basically get out of the ones that A, are illegal. You know, some of the proposals were illegal, not overtly illegal, but things you can't do because of state law or municipal law. Anything that was unethical, you know, they recommended firing people or massive layoffs or stuff like that. Anything that negatively impact thorough and efficient education, we removed. And the last one, which actually is really important, but you have to keep remember, anything that wasn't under this Board of Ed's purview. So when we had stuff about this state and have the state do this and have this, again, we weren't going to review those because there's nothing this Board of Ed can do in that aspect. So once that was done, we developed that set of requirements. We also developed the requirements for an advanced review. So that's going to be the ones that have the meat and the ones we really want to dig into. And there were basically 2. Were they 2 requirements? Are they sound and able to be implemented by the Board of Ed? And the other one was it worth expending this Board of Ed's resources? We don't want to come to you with a bunch of ideas and it's not in the realm of even being considered. So those were the two basically stratifications of review that we were going to do. Now, the one thing I will say as a caveat is some of them had good ideas and some triaged ideas mixed in. We pulled out the good ideas. We said we'd put them in a bucket, and those would be other ideas that we could mix together later on. It wasn't that it was an all or nothing, we don't like something on there and it's gone. We did try to yank out what we had, and there was some very common threads, which I'll get to at the next meeting, not this meeting, because I told Kathy I'd try to keep this to about 8 minutes. So where are we now? If there's any questions on that, I can answer, but where are we now? So we removed 59% of the proposals. Roughly 19 of them didn't satisfy the triage because of one of the things I talked about. We have 13 pretty meaty ones left. We also have about 6 or 7 pieces from those other 19 that we have. Some of them do overlap with the 13. That's not a big deal. And we've requested more information from our experts now. This is where the experts come in, where we're relying on the board experts or any industry experts to come in and tell us more information about some of these ideas, to basically provide all that background information. Just a couple of things that we did keep on the list, I know, where we had a big discussion about donations and how far donations can come. Can you get $137 million in donations? Probably not, but maybe you can get enough donations for a new classroom, retrofitting a classroom, or something like that. We had a lot of discussion about changes in sessions and the school year, which we're going to discuss tomorrow night. Again, these are ideas that we have to vet and discuss. We're not saying we're going with any of these. These are just some of the great ideas. One of the other things the committee did was we did ask for an updated demographic study, and I think it's under BA Report A2, so I would hope that you would vote for that. We need up-to-date numbers so we can basically feed them into some of these ideas we're looking at and get an accurate representation of what we're looking at. So, that was a lot, right? We are meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. Please come by. We're going over the action items from the last meeting. We had some, go look into some things for us. We were curious about how the district would do certain things. And we also requested some data, some class data, some grade data, things like that. We want to go over that. And then we will start doing the level 2 review of the proposals. This is the more meaty review of the proposals where you get into them and see if they actually hold water, not in light of education, but also in light of the district. Now, the committee does keep, I actually write them, and approves all of the minutes. They are approved by the committee. And they will be posted, I think, on the district website for everybody to review. Now, the reason I'm saying that is, I hate to bring it up, there were some minutes that were posted on social media that weren't 100% accurate. I want to make sure that people come to the committee, or you can call me or go Facebook message me, and I'll tell you any information you want. I want to make sure you're getting the accurate representation of what the committee is considering. There was a couple of things on there that weren't even mentioned during the meeting. I want to make sure everybody knows that if you want the source of truth, go to the committee itself. So that's all I really have. If you have questions, thank you for the time. Was that 8 minutes? Probably a little longer, sorry. And one last thing, I just want to wish my wife a happy anniversary. For the 3rd time, this is the 3rd board meeting that I've actually separated my anniversary. I do bring you to the greatest places, hon, sorry. So if there's any questions now, or if you want to wait till later, I can talk to anybody later.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Masters? Mr. Pelori?
I have a couple of questions. Did you look at the demographic report that was done last year?
We looked at it, and that's why we came up with we want a newer demographic report, yes.
Okay, so how many viable options do you have with the committee right now? 13 of them, I heard?
We have 13 proposals. Now, some of them overlap, and also from some of the other declined proposals, we cherry-picked some of the ideas. And again, some of them do overlap with even the 13. So 13 is a rough number.
Mr. Masters, I want to thank you and the committee for doing a wonderful job. We appreciate it. However, I do suggest that we sort of put a time frame on when the ad hoc committee is going to give certain results and what the implementation plan is going to be. I heard that the demographic report is not going to be done until the middle of January, so we're losing a lot of time, and I think the time is of essence, so I just wanted to request that.
So we are going to move forward with the existing demographic report, understood, we knew that. We asked Mr. Gorski, and he gave us those timeframes, and then hopefully, I don't know if we're going to go towards January, however long it takes. Again, I want to get to a good solution, not a fast solution. I'd rather take a little bit more time. I know there's been people complaining about, well, you're taking too long, but I'd rather vet all of these solutions and not just push them aside. What we'll do is, like you do in business, we'll work with the data we have until we have new data and then exchange that in.
Thank you, looking for a good solution.
Thank you.
Ms. Arminio?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Masters, and the committee. I was able to go to, for a few minutes on one of your last meeting. In terms of timing, I'd like to reiterate Mr. Polari's. I do believe we cannot wait till January for the new demographic. I think that the committee, I mean, if we have some kind of projection, we know, I mean, all we have to do is walk right around Monroe and see all of the bulldozers and trucks going in and out, and I think we sort of get an idea that we are still moving forward. We have a settlement for the affordable housing that maybe the ad hoc committee can ask for the settlement, the affordable housing settlement, and that would give you really some idea of the amount of houses that will be proposed, okay? And, you know, some of them are going to be built right away, and some of them are going to take, according to them, between 5 and 10-year build-out, but we certainly want to be aware of that. So maybe if the ad hoc committee gets a copy of the settlement, that would be good. And also, I would ask that because we have social media and because we have all kinds of places where information can be posted, I would ask that we only post the information on the board website. And thank you for asking people to call you, but I think that would be inappropriate. I think it should, that the official and formal information should be only on our website. I mean, if other people do whatever they want on social media, that would be one thing. But for us to go to one source for information. So I would ask, and I don't know if I need a resolution for that or just
No,
make a recommendation.
that was our intent, is to, once
know.
the minutes are approved tomorrow, to put the minutes on, to put the agenda on for tomorrow, and the list of who attends the meeting.
Okay.
So
Well, but
it will be
Mr.
on the
Masters
district
yeah.
website.
Right, but he graciously said people can call him and get information, but I think we have to disseminate the information from one source.
I rescind my offer.
Okay, thank you.
Don't call me.
I just think for clarity's sake.
No, that makes sense. It does make sense.
Okay, thank you for your time.
And for the affordable housing, that's a great idea. I've added it as an action item, and I will do that.
Thank you,
I'll
yeah,
follow
because
that.
it's our reality, so
It
I would
definitely is.
ask that we consider that.
Thank you, awesome
Thank you.
idea.
Madam?
Mr.
Masters,
Gorski.
may I just add to Mrs. Arminio's comment? The Educational Advocacy Committee and the Ad hoc Committee recommended an update to the demographic study, the enrollment projections.
Yes, I was there.
That update is required by the Department of Education for any submissions that would be for a forthcoming plan. But the last projections that we received from Ross Haber and Associates, particularly the short-term projections, the 1 to 3 years, are still very useful and accurate, and we feel comfortable using those and providing those to the committee to use. It's where you go longer in duration, they get a little bit fuzzy. But a 1 to 3 year outlook should be still very accurate and reliable from the most recent report.
Well, unfortunately, we know that when this beautiful building was built, it was already close to a capacity. So I know 1 to 3 years, but I don't think it would hurt. So maybe I don't understand. Are you suggesting they don't take a look at the settlement paperwork?
I'm making no comment on the
Okay.
settlement, just the
Okay.
demographic study.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think they should include the settlement, because again, that's part of our reality, even though we have nothing to do with it.
Mr. Ryback?
I think, Ms. Arminio, I think the settlement, I could be wrong, but my memory serves me correct, I think it was 850 units for affordable housing for the town, and that's what I think they settled. Does that number ring a bell?
But 2 years ago, yes.
I think it's 850 units. So my question is, and I think they did this, in Ross Haber, I think that he include that 850 in his projections. It's my understanding, I think he did that.
I believe that's correct.
Well, I don't think it would hurt to give them more information
No,
than
no, I'm
less.
not opposed to that, but I just want to say the
But
number was
let's be
850.
clear, the 850 is just the affordable housing aspect
right.
of the settlement. They do, what is it, 4 times?
4 to 1.
4 to 1.
4 to 1.
So you multiply that by 4,
Sure,
and then you get what the
absolutely.
projected
Well, I just
housing
wanted
stock's going to be.
Get the number
That's why it's
clear for the
important to take a
850.
look at it. Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms.
Madam President, one
Mr.
last thing I
Polari.
forgot to mention. I
Okay.
apologize. I think I've brought this up at the previous meetings. I think the entire community of Monroe, Lou, Masters, if you could have like an open session for the ad hoc committee, for people to come in and kind of look at and review some of the recommendations that are coming up, but also have people kind of give it their input. Because I know that you're looking for emails and want to do this in a systematic way. We don't want to leave any stone unturned at the end of the day. Give them an opportunity sometime, at least in October timeframe. If you could do that, that'll be great. So very helpful.
Okay, thank you.
I have no problem with that.
Okay, since there are no more questions, Mr. Masters, thank you for
And thank you.
your update this evening.
Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, you will, yes. I'm like, what's tomorrow? Okay, no, I get it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go to committee reports. Are there any committees that need to report this evening? I know Mr. Mayo has a really nice one.
We had the curriculum, is that picking me up? The curriculum committee met today at 5:30, and the summer's a big time for curriculum writing. So we went through a lot of documents, and I'll try to be quick, but they're very interesting, so I don't want you guys to miss anything. We went through financial literacy, which is a curriculum mapping, and so where is it? Financial literacy. So there's a new state mandate that we have to teach financial literacy in the middle school. And so the teachers got together, where's my notes? I lost them. Where? No, yeah, here it is, sorry. Okay, so a panel of teachers from the middle school got together, mathematics department, middle school social studies, as well as high school business teachers, and took part in the two-day mapping. And essentially, what they did is they discussed each of the standards in length, and they determined where was the best place for implementation. They're not creating a whole new class, but they're embedding it in current classwork already. The document was created with the standard and course name to ensure that all standards will be met. Standards will be placed in one of three courses: grade 6, the PBL math, which is problem-based learning math, which incorporates grade 6 math standards into real-life application projects with embedded differentiation, grade 7 civics, and grade 8 social studies. It was noted that many of the standards were already included, but more depth was necessary, so they talked about the depth. Once the group narrowed down which topics needed to be placed in which course, then they had discussions about how to put it in the course with the best fit without taking away from what was already being taught. During the year, several of the middle school teachers from the panel will be working on their year-long professional development to create in-depth activities. And what was so interesting about this literacy mapping is it brought together a group of three types of teachers: middle school mathematics, middle school social studies, and high school business teachers, and had them talking together, which they usually don't do. So it really brought an interesting and an in-depth discussion to the mapping. Okay, the next ones we talked about, which were social studies in grade K through 9. And so the essence is, what is social studies and why it is important? Within the school program, social studies provides coordinated, systematic study drawing upon disciplines such as anthropology, archaeology, economics, geography, history, law, philosophy, political science, psychology, religion, and sociology, as well as appropriate content from the humanities, mathematics, and natural science. So social studies is really all-encompassing. The primary purpose of social studies is to help young people make informed and reasonable decisions for the public good as citizens of a culturally diverse, democratic society in an interdependent world. So the K through 12 social studies curriculum document focused on the development of classroom community, active classroom citizenship, civics, Monroe Day, Constitution Day, social institutions, people, culture and diversity, economic forces, American government, American leaders, American symbols, geography, maps, and our environment, and historical figures in leadership.
It's K2.
I said that.
You said K12.
I said K-12? My apologies, K through 2. The next one is grade 3 to 5 for social studies, and this focuses on our community, Monroe Day, Constitution Day, American culture past and present, inventions, inventors, American government, founding of our nation, American Revolution, slavery to the civil rights, industry, immigration, westward expansion, Civil War and Reconstruction, global perspectives, Incas, Aztec, and Mayan civilizations. So in both of these, I mentioned Monroe Day, and so Monroe Day was created in partnership with the Monroe Historical Preservation Commission, and it's going to engage students in our local township history. And there are going to be day farm field trips, they're going to be doing scavenger hunts, traveling historical trunks, and more. And so this is really going to teach the kids about the town they're growing up in, the history, and it really is an engaging, hands-on day for them. So it's pretty exciting that this is being developed. The next one was grade 6 social studies. This one focuses on early humans, Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent, ancient Egypt, religions of the world, ancient India, and ancient China. Grade 7 focuses on ancient Greece, ancient Rome, Middle Ages, Renaissance, and Reformation. Grade 8 focuses on the American colonies, growing tensions, the American Revolution, the Articles of Confederation, the American Constitution, the Preamble, Article 1, and the Voice of the People. Article 2, and government power. Article 3, and American justice. Articles 4 to 7, and the Bill of Rights. Formation of political parties, local government, and contemporary world issues. I'm not done yet. We also have we talked about a research and development STEM. It's a high school level course that was developed in conjunction with Rutgers, and it's a biology-based course. We also, had the head of our chorus come in and talk about freshman chorus and mixed chorus. She has written all the documents for our chorus. As a result of her expertise and her engagement with the students, enrollment in our chorus classes have increased 150% since she has come on board. So we have a fabulous chorus teacher. Her name is Ariel Klein. So the freshman course is for all incoming freshmen, experienced and new. There's 5 core units that help develop the ensemble through literacy, performance, practice, pedagogy. The course also prepares students for advanced ensembles at the district, regional, and state level. The mixed course is a non-audition ensemble, just like the freshman one, for grades 10 through 12th. It's a collaboration and rigorous ensemble for students, which has resulted in 115% enrollment since the program was restructured 4 years ago. The structure of the course allows for students to use prior knowledge in regard to literacy and music theory from their freshman course experience to improve their overall performing abilities. Back in, was it January? The mandate from the government, A1335, there was a bill that was signed into law, and it was signed by the governor, and it would ensure that lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered people and individuals with disabilities are included in instructional materials, which studies have shown is linked to greater student safety, lower rates of bullying, and reduced prejudice towards members and allies of these groups. So this law was passed, and we we have to insert some of this teaching into each new document that we write. And what was amazing, so students will understand the importance of global diversity, respectful listening, constructive problem solving, and consideration of others' backgrounds and beliefs. So it's just another way to teach our students about tolerance. But what was amazing about this is that this mandate to include materials about contributions of the LGBTQ community and special ed communities into all our curriculum, our Gay Straight Alliance in the high school came and approached the administration about contributing and giving input about the mandate, and they are going to be actively helping the administration include this mandate into our curriculum documents. And I thought that was really an amazing thing that they approached the administration all on their own to help this. And I think that was it.
Okay, that was a lot to digest
It was
tonight.
very exciting.
Okay. Anyone else have a committee? Mrs. Lang?
Hello. So the policy committee, we met on August 15th. And we were able to discuss, we first went through our policies for reaffirmation as part of our going over and updating our policy book. So we have 7 policies for reaffirmation tonight. We have 2 policies for first reading and regulations. They had some word changing in them, in the course guides for changing to the New Jersey, from the New Jersey core curriculum content standards. And then in policy 24313, which is practice in preseason, that policy, we got the input from Mr. Greg Breyer, the coaches and the school physician, so now that accurately reflects what we're doing within the district on that. So that policy is up for its first read tonight. We're also going to do our second readings on regulation 3212, 4212, and policy 8860, and policy 9400. I also wanted to we updated the policy committee, and I just want to repeat it to the public, that when the board works, it's our goal and our role is to make sure that the district, we give the what we want to happen, and the district gives us back how they're going to make it happen. We do the what through the policy, they do the how through the regulation. So when wording comes back from the administration as to how they want a regulation worded or how they feel best that a regulation is going to work, we basically, that is their work. We don't set up the regulations, the administration does the regulations, we do the policies. We also updated the committee on the smoking and vaping and substance abuse policy. Dr. Alvick, our board attorney Mary Smith, myself, 2 middle school administrators, a high school administrator, and the student assistant counselor met, and we began drafting a vaping policy that will meet our district's exact needs. And the most exciting part about that is that there's going to be a really strong emphasis on education and parental participation, because vaping is so dangerous, and the best way for us to stop it is to have parents understand how dangerous this is and what's happening. I know I personally have been sharing lots of articles about the dangers of vaping and what they're finding with lung diseases, and how young people are overdosing on nicotine or unknown substances. So we really want to push education as a big part instead of making it just punitive, because punitive isn't going to change anything. Hopefully education will. We also updated the committee on the request to investigate seatbelts, and Dr. Alvick let us know that for our trips where we're required to do coach buses, we are going to be requesting coach buses with seatbelts, which we did find out there are enough out there, hopefully. It's important to keep in mind that the availability, there's not a whole bunch of them, but availability and cost of those buses may have an impact on our trips where we need to use a coach bus that has seatbelts. And I was also asked to bring back a discussion that was brought up in the public forum, and I have to add that we can't discuss personnel items in public. So when we had our meeting, we asked the member of the public who was in attendance to step out so that we could talk it, to have a really thorough discussion about our concerns. And what I can share is that at this time, everything was handled in accordance with the current collective negotiations agreement and laws. and that any changes, hopefully, that we can make into our policies will happen through the next collective negotiations. And the real part on that is, as long as those changes are what they call not void ab initio, or void on its face, or illegal. So hopefully, as we move forward, we'll work closely in negotiations and make any changes we have to. And we're going to keep working as a board to update our policy manual. We're getting there. There's a lot, but our goal is to get it done by the end of the year and have our policy manual all updated and everything having been looked at. So thank you again for the support of the policy committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Lang. Anyone, Mr. Ryback?
Yes, thank you. Just to let everyone know, the Personnel Committee met and supported Mr. Matraperla's continuance as acting principal of the high school. The position of Transportation Specialist was recommended to assist in planning, developing, and implementing our transportation program. It's quite a busy office, and additional help was needed. We also updated the job description for Department Coordinator so that it better describes roles. We voted to approve increases in the substitute nurses' rate of pay, as we have a growing need and have been losing people to higher-paying districts in our area. We voted to approve the rate of pay for substitute security guards to $20 for part-time unarmed guards and $28 for part-time armed guards. Of course, the board must vote to approve the rates of pay for nurses and security guards to become effective. We also voted to approve an increase in pay for substitute secretaries to bring them to minimum wage. That's my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other reports? Ms. Arminio?
Yes, I'm going to read the financial report, the Financial Committee report first. I sat through all but one of the committees on August 15th, so from 4 o'clock to about 8 o'clock, except for 1 hour. And the Finance Committee was scheduled last. I think maybe we should start looking at the Finance Committee first, because that's sort of, everything else develops from our finances, and I think we have some news that we're going to have to start to pay attention to. Mr. Gorski, on June 30th, we have an audit update from Mr. Gorski that he provided an update on June 30th for the comprehensive annual financial audit, where he informed members of the auditing team that that Mr. Samuel Klein and Company have audited the application for the state school aid, which is ASSA, as of October 15, 2018. They've created a random and targeted transaction sampling list and have audited the minutes and is now auditing the student activity accounts. So they're in the preliminary stages of the current audit. It is, however, the same auditor for, I think, the last quite a few years. So they should be used to doing this. There was also a discussion related to the preliminary excess surplus calculations. Mr. Gorski provided the committee with a draft of the audit schedule C1, which calculates excess surplus of the June 30th, 2019 and 5-year excess surplus cumulative schedule. Will that be on the website?
Madam, I could certainly post it on the website if it's the board's desire.
Okay, yeah, I think we're going to start to talk heavy-duty about our surplus and our funds, so I think the public should know, since they're the ones paying the bill. Mr. Gorski directed the members' attention to steadily declining excess surplus from $6 million 2 years ago to $5 million last year to $3,200,000 this year. Mr. Gorski says that the reason for the drawdown in surplus can be attributed to spending in excess of total revenues. And I circle that, I'll repeat that. The reason for the drawdown in the surplus can be attributed to spending in excess of total revenues, particularly in the following areas: student enrollment growth, technology and curriculum needs, facility capital improvement, upgrades, trailer leases, and increased labor and benefits cost. Mr. Gorski indicated that there will be more presented in this topic October 3rd, 2019 at the Budget Philosophy. But we also talked about, the decrease in the excess surplus and how that could impact our future and some of our going forward in some of the salaries. So sometimes I think that we should have the finance first before we start granting a lot of increases in some of our spending. That's just my opinion. I also asked, and there were other people at the meeting, Mr. Polari, Rupa Siegel, and Mr. Chiarello, I believe, was there. President Kalpanowicz was there. I also asked my concerns about, and I know we don't have a direct control over this, but I'm concerned about going forward. There are in the overall economy, there's talk about possible recession, and what would that do to our long-term and short-term interest rates? And I don't know if Mr. Gorski would like to talk about that, but it's a concern that I have, and I think as a board, we have to not just consider what's in front of us and what's immediate, but we have to start being concerned that there's something down the road. Don't know if it can happen, it might not happen. But I do remember in 2008, public officials said that they had no idea, no one could predict that this was coming. But I think recessions are probable and predictable in certain ways, and we should be cognizant of that. Again, my personal opinion. Mr. Gorski, if you would like to. Madam President, if he may.
Just briefly, we did discuss during the Finance Committee that there are increasing predictions for a recession in the country. The last time there was a recession, it was the Great Recession. It was an unusual one, very steep. But that resulted in the suspension and cut of our state aid after the award was made mid-year. The state pulled back from us $1.5 million, which did affect programs and services and put a great strain on the board and district goals. Certainly being an accountant and not an economist, it's hard for me to say what the effective interest rates would be other than in general terms. But state aid is the biggest threat that we have. Generally, during recessions, you have a cut or a decline in interest rates. That might be a tailwind with the bond referendum, because it could make borrowing less expensive if there's a bright side to this. But certainly a recession is going to hurt, because it could impair the state's ability to continue on their framework under S2 to bring us to full funding in the next 5 years. Or they could actually not meet revenue projections and pull back aid from us like they did a few years ago.
But we barely get state aid as it is. I mean, maybe the silver lining on that one is if they don't give us any more, we're not really, sadly, we're not relying on it. Sadly and fortunately, I guess, at the same time. But I'll move on if you're done, Mr. Gorski.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I also have the Buildings and Grounds. Mr. Chiarella was attending at Buildings and Grounds. He's not here, so I will read the Buildings and Grounds report. We have Gov Deals. Gov Deals is a for-profit organization that administers the sale of district vehicles. We're disposing of surplus property. The administration provided a handout identifying 13 out-of-service district vehicles proposed for sale through Gov Deals auction site, and the committee supports and will recommend to the board, and it's on page 37 of 40 of your agenda tonight. We are recommending that they get sold through this Gov Deals. The demographic study that was discussed, that's on page 36 out of 40 of your agenda this evening. And the administration provided a proposal from Ross Haber and Associates for updated demographic study using the forthcoming October 2019 ASSA data. This data that I already spoke about with the auditor. This data, after being certified by the district's auditor, will be available to the demographer in early December, and a new demographic study issued to the full board in January 2020. The request for updating the demographic study came from the ad hoc committee, as we've previously mentioned, and the Educational Advocacy Committee. The Building and Grounds Committee will recommend proceeding with the update of the demographic study, and I think that's a little over $4,000 on page 36. Update in the middle school water heating system replacement project. Administration shared photos of an ongoing project and noted that the job is substantially complete. A punch list was prepared and issued this week. The project is projected to be 100% complete, and a new heating system officially operable prior to the start of school. And that's good news. Update on the security vestibule project. Administration provided an overview of the construction at the 5 schools, highlighting construction field changes that were necessary at Barkley Brook due to the newly discovered sublayer of asbestos floor tile and code revision required by the local construction department, and to add a sprinkler head in Applegarth vestibule. Although these projects were not slated to be completed for the start of school, Mr. Pirro was working closely, Mr. Pirro is our security director. He was working closely with the affected school principals and made arrangements for alternative secure access to the school while the vestibules are under construction. Next, potential trailer projects for 2020. Administration provided a handout which requested we requested information regarding the existing school capacity, current enrollment, and resultant unhoused students. Administration noted that they will be having an in-depth discussion with the middle school administrator regarding needs for potential additional trailers, possibly to house a second cafeteria and/or more classrooms. Furthermore, the administration shared departing high school principal Rob Goodall's recommendation for adding 6 to 8 instructional classrooms at the high school. The committee requested that additional data pertaining to projected growth be provided for the schools to aid in their analysis of trailers. I'm wondering also, Mr. Gorski, if we can put that analysis on the on the website. We talked about that.
Madam, are you referring to the anticipated trailer need
Yeah,
analysis?
I think we had, I don't know if what we called it, but it had the
Capacities,
existing capacity,
yes.
enrollment, and then unhoused students.
Yes, we have an updated schedule that we are going to present to the ad hoc committee tomorrow. And if it's the board's desire, we could certainly post that to the website.
Okay. I would recommend it and ask that we agree to do that. Updating on the flashing school signs and projects at the Monroe Township High School and the Monroe Township Middle School. The committee reviewed design engineering drawings prepared by Edwards Engineering Group on August 8th, 2019. These drawings have been submitted to the Monroe Township Engineer and Monroe Township Police Traffic Safety Department for review. The township recently conducted a first reading of an ordinance to change the speed limit, everybody pay attention, speed limit on Prineville Road to 25 miles per hour during school hours. But we have, Mr. Pelori requested that the administration follow up with the engineer regarding this matter, as there might be an issue between changing, reducing the speed limit that drastically from 25 from a 45 mile per hour, which is the current road speed. We will post the meeting follow-up from Edwards. We have not officially submitted plans to the Middlesex County engineer yet, and our office has spoken to Mr., oh, this was the follow-up, sorry. Our office has spoken to Mr., I'm not going to say his last name, supervising engineer in the county traffic division about our proposal to add flashing signs and to reduce the speed limit to the school zone to 35, as is currently posted 25. They did not give any indication that that would be an issue. He stated that we would, we need approvals, and the county would review the plan once the town has acted. So this is in conjunction with the township. Under state law, the speed limit in school zones is automatically 25 miles per hour unless legally posted otherwise. Only a governing body may adopt an ordinance to allow higher speed limit, which in the case of Prineville Road would be Middlesex County. So this is good information for the start of school. The Federal Highway Administration Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices states that speed zone reduction signs should be placed at a minimum 200 feet from the school, and said distance should be increased if the speed limit reduction is more than 30 miles per hour. So please just be cognizant of where these signs go up. And then very quickly, request a commodity resale system. Mr. Gorski, would you like to briefly just talk about that, and this way we'll move on?
Yes.
The administration presented to the board's committee, I believe it was Building Grounds Transportation, and the board previously, a request from the fire department adjacent to the administration building for them to get rid of an above-ground diesel tank and have their fire truck use the diesel facilities across the street at the Board of Education. We worked out with a lot of collaboration from Mary Smith and the township's attorney, a very good agreement where the township will pay and be invoiced periodically for their specifically used diesel, which we will track with a fob. Fob is like a keychain device that shows how much fuel you're pumping into the vehicle. They'll also pay the district, I believe it was $2,400 a year for administrative surcharge. And they've provided all the necessary insurance paperwork, which is part of the rider that you have tonight to approve. That satisfies the board attorney and, most importantly, our insurance carrier. So this is a win-win for the fire department and the Board of Ed and the environment. We get rid of an above-ground tank. We share a facility that's relatively new. The Board of Ed picks up an administrative cost to help offset the tanks and the charges. And then the access will be limited to after school hours, so it doesn't interfere with operations here.
Okay, thank you. And briefly, just because the committee just had some discussions, Mr. Polari requested the administration explore the possibility of GPS systems on buses that would allow parents to track their child's bus. We went back and forth on that one. Some of us thought it was a good idea, and some of us thought that it might be not such a good idea. So that was a discussion. Mr. Ryback requested the administration explore options for vaping detectors to be installed in high schools, but we also noted that we're talking about a vaping policy, and we also discussed how smart kids are to sort of overcome those detectors. So those are still discussion items. Thank you very much for your patience.
You're welcome. And is any other committees?
Just want to add to Mrs. Arminio's comment that the signs are going to be paid for by the township as we requested. It's not going to be coming out of our budget. Just want to let everybody
The
know.
flashing signs?
Correct.
Yes, thank you. Okay, public forum for agenda items only. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the agenda, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. We will adhere to our 4-minute timeline. Once the timer goes off, your time is over, and you can only come up once during each public forum. So you want, okay.
Hi, my name is Pradeep, 4 Jake Place. I had some questions about transparency, especially minutes of meeting of subcommittees. So me and Madam President went back and forth with a couple of emails, and on the final email today I sent to all other board members for your reference. The main concern is not what you are hiding, why you are hiding. That's what bothers all the taxpayers. Why can't you reveal whatever the meeting minutes, what is happening in that 1 hour long sessions? In 1 hour long session, you can't just describe in like just one liner, like we meet and we discussed about this, blah, blah, blah. That's it. And in the email I received from Ms. Kalpovich saying that all the meeting minutes are available on your website. So I went back and I thoroughly skimmed through the G-Boards doc, whatever the site that you guys are running, and curriculum committee meetings. From the last September 2018 to July 2019, there were 10 meetings held, at least 10 agendas I can found, and only 4 meeting minutes are there. The second place goes to policy committee meeting, 1 out of 10. And the winners are BG&T committee 0 out of 10, finance committee meeting 0 out of 9. And the grand prize win goes to educational advocacy committee. They don't even have agenda over there. Okay? So, our BOE meetings are not greater than FOMC meetings or closed sessions of Senate. Even those committee meetings minutes, word to word, verbatim, are coming to the light at certain point of life. But these committee meetings, these closed sessions are not coming up. Okay? I request you all BOE members to think a truthful answer to the taxpayers. And if you believe transparency in the democracy, okay, think what you said before you coming onto the board. in the public meetings about the transparency, transparency, transparency. Please answer truthfully to your heart. And I am requesting and challenging at the same time the board, please make a resolution to have at least an video or audio recordings of subcommittee meetings. If cost is a primary concern, I will donate 2 of these mics. You can connect to your laptop and you just click one button, you are done. All the meeting minutes will be audio recorded on your laptop. You can upload in 2 minutes. Okay. If you guys are not taking any action, then I want to remind you an old case that was defeated for the Board of Education. In 2006, there is one gentleman who went to Superior Court of Middlesex and won against this same board for lack of transparency. The court ruled in favor of him, and Board of Education has paid a hefty sum for the costs. You want to repeat that? I am up for that. Are you? Are you want to waste the taxpayers' money on the court cases, the energy? So, if you are not taking any resolution, and if the meetings are not there, what will happen if I offer for a detailed minutes of meeting? You have no idea what happened in that meeting. And, okay. The next point, if I go to the court and if I attach this old resolution to the same case that I'm going to put up now, then you ready for a reinstation of this whole board, including the administration and the members. I think my 4 minutes is not over yet, but I'm done. Any answer for me?
Time's up.
No,
Yes.
At this time, I don't have an answer, but I think that the answers to your questions was open and honest. What I said was that as of July 2019, all committee meetings minutes will be posted. I never said that.
I just checked it today. The scores are same. I didn't even see
We have
increase
to,
of one.
we have to approve them as a board first, so.
All the subcommittee meetings are approved after the right after that particular month's board meeting. Then why don't you guys upload
So
it?
I will respond to your latest email,
Okay.
okay? At this time, your time is up.
Any board members want to take up this challenge?
Board
to
members
resolution?
cannot speak at public forum.
Okay.
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. I echo Pradeep's feeling because I know that the minutes are very important and transparency in the minutes are very important. How we are not done in the past, let us catch up to it. So that is the request. But I agree with that. Let us be transparent. The other one about the ad hoc committee, 19 out of 59%, there are good proposals. Very good proposals have come, and 19 out of 34 are rejected. So in the minutes of the meeting, because people are taking time to write the proposals, on what grounds they have been rejected, put a line. So the people will appreciate, and we will also be happy to see on what grounds they have been rejected, okay? And this development advanced criteria, I didn't hear or I missed it that particular day. The proposal has to be sound. The definition of proposal has to be sound. It's very gray. It has to be defined what the sound means, okay? Otherwise, it is very gray area. And, all in public, we know that we always have a doubt. Already predefined 2 proposals are going to be there. New middle school and expansion of high school, okay? That is the thing. But I tell you, people are given several ideas. So naturally, I feel expansion of high school is required. But whether new middle school is required, there are certain ideas have come which will be very helpful for taxpayers. And implement them, otherwise I'll bet you the referendum will again fail. With the policy committee, I appreciate vaping. Education to the vaping should start at least 7th grade. The nicotine content in the vaping is 45%. And there are cases
Madam?
Yes.
To answer the gentleman's question, it's a new position, and the rationale provided to the board for the position is that
I'm sorry, Mr. Gursky, because of limited time. The budgets are tight. The budgets are tight, so I at least have a concerns of adding any new positions, so reconsider. That's what I can say. And the next question is, what is this item L? What is this new MD program at high school? I don't understand what is MD means, okay? Because what I'm thinking, my thought is we have good programs now, budgets are tight, let us keep the good programs and look at which programs are good. And so I don't know what this MD is, so please provide me the answer. Thank you.
Yes, you can. Thank you.
The department, Mr. Gorski, the transportation job description is a new position.
Okay.
The department coordinators are not a new position. They are an existing position.
Okay.
We just revised the job description. An MD class is a multiply disabled class. It's a special education class.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Betty Sabarito, 2 Barry Mauer Drive. As you know, I'm the parent of a special education child. He's classified with autism. I'm also the leader of CPAG, which is the Special Education Parent Advisory Group. I just have a question. With regard to the curriculum, could we start also including special education, not just in our curriculum meetings, but also when we recap our committee meetings? Because I think that's very important. I don't know if you guys on the board are aware, we have a huge reading comprehension program right now with these children. There seemed to be a misconnect somewhere between curriculum and special education. There wasn't a set reading program for them, especially for self-contained, so I think we need to start including these programs and children as part of not just your meetings, but your reporting as well. And also, Mrs. DeMeo spoke about this new legislation that came into effect with regard with children with disabilities, and you're pulling in some of your students from your school to kind of give you ideas on how to better some of the programs. For special education, the students may not always be available or have the cognitive wherewithal to participate, but certainly CPAG can, and certainly some of the parents can, so that we can kind of make this distributed across the board. So if you could start including that, being that 18% I believe of our students are classified, I think it's an important percentage. We need to start including that as a part of our curriculum meetings and committee reports.
Okay.
And if you could also, Dr. Alvick, I know you're very aware, we need to start looking at this reading program because we've been looking at it through CPAG, but we have a ton of students at the middle and high school that are not able to read at this point, that do not have any reading comprehension skills, which means they're not going to be successful once they're out of school. And at the lower grades, that's where that needs to start. Self-contained, I understand the IEPs drive the programs, but if we don't have a program in place, that's a problem. So if we could please revisit that.
Okay, Dr. Outlook, we'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Gail DePayne, 356C, Old Nassau. Regarding the first gentleman and the second gentleman's comments about transparency in your closed sessions are closed and your minutes are not exposed because it contains personnel issues about children, parents, teachers, and the attorneys are present, and a certain committee is there to judge it. You guys would be you're legally bound not to put those people's names out there in minutes. I'm correct. Am I right? Okay.
You are correct, and I know that we follow the law.
You do.
We follow New Jersey school boards.
That's right.
We follow our board attorney advice.
Right.
And we know, in fact, we had school boards here, and that question was asked at one of our board meetings as what we can include in closed session meetings.
Correct.
The very minimal, like we discussed so-and-so.
Sure.
And that's all that we are allowed to.
You'll have a lawsuit the next minute that somebody sees that on your board website, especially, and I think Ms. Arminio mentioned tonight about, I didn't want to mention the gentleman's name, and she had the right to say that because maybe that person didn't want to be mentioned in one of your reports that he was involved with something. So you have to be so
I just couldn't
careful.
say his name. I couldn't say his name.
Oh, you couldn't pronounce, oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying, you have to be careful about what you say about anybody nowadays. I mean, it doesn't even have to be pertaining to a closed session meeting. It's anywhere. You could be outside, you could be, I worked in the hospital, and doctors would be in the elevators with us years ago. And they all got yelled at for it, and that's why HIPAA's around. Because they were talking about patients, and that could have been the patient's family standing right there. So if you were in a closed session and you're out in ShopRite or wherever you are and you're saying, and sometimes you whisper and sometimes you don't know who's there. So I was in a closed session the other night and, Mary Smith, boy, did they throw her out of that district. The gentleman is entirely wrong. This is to me, since I've been coming here, is a very transparent Board of Education. And you can only go by what law tells you to do. State mandate, that's what you have to do. So I commend you. Your reports were wonderful this evening, very detailed and very informational.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Krishna Dekale, 11 Jake Place. What my friend spoke about, the first gentleman who spoke here, he spoke about what is being discussed, a gist of what is being discussed. He did not ask for names to be named. So I just want to point that out, right? I mean, he was very explicit that he did not want the names to come out. All he wanted was what was discussed, what was approved, what was voted, and what wasn't voted. So having corrected the misconception that was out here, the question I have is related to the general fund. The beginning cash balance started at around 5.7 million and it ended at 2.2 million. Just trying to figure out where did that go. There were more cash disbursements. What changed? I was trying to find that out. Could not find that information in the package that was handed out.
Madam?
Yes.
Mr. DeCali, as reported to Finance Committee, for the year June 30, 15, we had excess surplus, which is important to understand what that concept is. It's monies from previous budgets that were not spent to their fidelity. So you either had some efficiencies and savings, or you recognized revenues in excess of what you had in the budget. So you created surplus. That surplus by law carries over to 2 years later and is part of the budget as a revenue source. June 30, 15, we had excess surplus of 5 million. June 30, 16, it became 6.1 million. We'll put the schedule on our website. June 30, 17, it stayed the same, about 6 million. June 30, 18, it dropped to 5 million. And I reported to the board that drop and the reasons why. And then June 30, 19, we're reporting now it dropped to 3.2 million. The theoretical reason for that is you're spending beyond your abilities to raise revenues through state aid, tuition, and the cap, with emphasis on the cap. The cap is a governing agent on our budget that determines how much money you're able to raise through taxes, and we are at cap. However, our spending throughout the district has been growing at a steady pace due to some very specific demands. Special education, we meet the needs of our special ed population very completely and thoroughly. Facilities, we inherited a long-range facility plan that has projects in the millions of dollars that have been identified of need in the next 5 years. We've been doing that on an installment basis every year That's been eating into this to a large amount. Security vestibules are a perfect example this year. Additional staffing, I think we put 35 new staff on for the 1920 budget because of growth. Trailer costs. And because of those needs that we're responsible and a value to the organization, we've been drawing down on surplus. So this was an alert to the board for a second year in a row that we are spending beyond our ability to raise revenues, and it would be wise to develop a philosophy that puts the brakes on any non-mandated spending going forward.
So, in essence, we actually overran our budget for last year, and we've spent more than what we have, and we've drawn down on our surplus that we've been carrying over. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Gorski?
I don't like the word overspent the budget. We were within the budget range,
Okay.
but we did consume some of our savings, AKA excess surplus, and it's been declining steadily and aggressively. So that was the reason for the alert at the Finance Committee.
Sure, all right. Thank you, Mr. Gorski.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chrissy Skirby, 21 Preakness Drive. I spoke last month about how sad I was seeing one of our best administrators leave the district, and I was equally upset looking at the personnel items this evening and seeing one of our top math teachers leaving our district. We have a real problem here in Monroe. We're losing staff month after month. There is a long list of resignations, and it's not because they're leaving to retire. They're going to other districts. We're losing our top staff to other districts, and that is hurting our students. That is hurting the education here in Monroe. And we need to figure out a way that we're going to keep our teachers here. And hearing now that we're adding more administrative, you're being asked to approve a new administrative position, yet we have no money. I don't understand. We have teacher negotiations that are going to be coming up. That's no secret. The contracts are up this year. This board needs to really, your philosophy should be how to keep our teachers here, how to pay them fairly, because we are not paying our teachers what they deserve here, and it's showing because they're leaving, and that's hurting our district. And that's what's truly important here, is retaining our staff and making the education the best it could be here in Monroe. That's what you guys need to start looking at. In regards to the ad hoc committee, I didn't hear any of the proposals presented. I know that Prakash Parab did a very extensive recap of that meeting. I know he attended, and he detailed every proposal, what they were, what recommendations those were. Is there a way that you could put on the website what the proposals were so that the public can see what was out there? Because the update really didn't say anything of what was being proposed by the public. And to Mr. Pelori's point, if we do that, if you can put that out there for the public and then hold a public meeting where residents can come out and speak to those proposals, you can get an understanding for what the public will support and get behind, and potentially have a referendum that will pass. But I think you need to engage the public to let them know. If you're saying only look at the district website for the information, then put it out there. Because, like I said, Mr. Parab did an excellent job detailing all of the proposals, but that should be something that's on the district website as a recap of that meeting.
We'll take that under consideration.
Okay, and I hope, again, like Mr. Pelori, I know he's been asking for quite a while now. I hope you will, maybe somebody make a motion or a recommendation that you do hold a public town hall meeting where residents are invited to come and speak to it, because I know they're not allowed to speak at the ad hoc meeting. And if you have an open meeting where residents can come out and speak to that, I think that's a good idea. I think bringing everybody together to come to an agreement on what we can do to address the student growth would be helpful.
We have said we're going to do that in the future, but not over 33 proposals. So we want to eliminate the ones that aren't good or the ones that are not feasible and get down to a certain amount. And then we will have the a town hall where people could come in and say, here's 5 proposals, what do you think you can get behind, what questions do you have, and we will.
Well, it sounded like the ones that aren't feasible were taken out.
Right, but there's still others that we have a lot of questions about. So we want to get down from 13, 15, 16 proposals that we have to maybe 4 or 5 that.
Sure, but maybe all that could be shared with the public now. I mean, why not, right? It's not confidential information. I mean, I just think that
You're
the
welcome
more.
to come to the meeting and.
But people can't come to the meetings. Why can't you post that on your district website?
We
Why
post-
do you have to come to a meeting to get the
We
information?
post the minutes of the meetings. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, we will go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Alvick?
Okay, good evening. So this past Monday and Tuesday, the administrators met for our annual summer administrator workshop. This is a time for all of us to get together. Some of our topics that were included in the 2-day training were legal training, crisis training for all of our administrators, ongoing MAP report stating. MAP is the online assessment that we're using K through 12. So doing some more extensive training on reading the reports that are available to staff and administrators. And we had started a discussion about the district and vision statement in preparation for hopefully moving toward a strategic planning process that we'll talk about during our budget goals, district goals, and at a future meeting. It was a wonderful day, 2 days of team building and learning for all of our administrators. On Monday evening, the high school did open its doors for all freshmen in a freshman open house. The students received T-shirts, they received their iPads, and they had an opportunity to walk around the school. Teachers and student ambassadors were available to guide them and answer any questions. I did attend along with the high school administration, and it seemed to be a very festive evening. Students were excited. A lot of student older siblings came with them and helped them tour the building also, which was nice to see with their parents. I'm hoping that this allayed some of the nervousness for our students, and the high school administration is also working to create some informational videos that will be sent out to students by the start of the school year, sent out to freshman students by being pushed out to their new iPads. On the agenda this evening, Mr. Madripola is being recommended to continue his role as the acting high school principal. Once the school year starts, we will conduct a search for that position. And just to let everyone know, we are on track for the opening of school on September 3rd for all staff and September 5th for all students. And our new teachers will be attending a new teacher orientation next Monday through Thursday with our administration and our professional development coordinators to get a lot of information. They kind of get overwhelmed in those 4 days, information to help get them ready for the start of the school year. So, Madam President, it is recommended that the board approve the attached personnel items A through BA.
Motion and a second, please?
A motion.
Mr. Ryback's making a motion,
Second.
and second by Ms. DeMayo. Are there any comments or questions for Dr. Alvick? Ms. Arminio?
Yes, on the advancing and continuing the acting superintendent, so I'm talking about the position now, not the person. Is there an increase in salary?
He did get an increase in salary.
And how was that determined? Was that negotiated by anyone?
It was negotiated by me, and it was an increase similar to what the administrators received this year based on what he made last year as the acting principal. So it gave him the increase for the acting principal position, since he did it for a year already.
And what's the difference, if I may ask?
I do not know that off the top of my head. But also to let you know, we are not filling his position. So there's a savings to the district for the time. We will be down one assistant principal at the high school until that position is filled.
Right, but that really is separate from actual giving, okay.
I don't remember what the actual number is of the increase.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call. Mr. Gorski?
Is that on the A to BA? I don't.
It's AV,
AV?
page 16.
Okay. 16, okay.
Madam,
Yes.
ready for a
Roll
roll call? As it pertains to personnel, I just want to point out, to clarify, the transportation specialist position is a clerical secretarial position.
That's on the
part of-
next one, though, right?
Yeah, that's on the personnel report that we're voting on right now.
And where, oh, I thought that was on, on D.
No, that's on the personnel action items A through BA, and that is a clerical secretary position.
And that's a new position.
It's a new position. It will enable the district to bring routes back from the commission, better serving the parents. We've had a lot of difficulty with contracted routes previously, and with all of the growth in addition to our fleet and buses, it's overdue.
I know, we discussed this at the meeting, and then, like I said, afterwards, we had the financial. How many people are in that, in the administration and transportation?
Administration, one, just a director.
No, but there are two other people in the office, right?
Dispatcher, transportation coordinator, I wouldn't consider that administration by the definition of the term. So really, we just have one administrator in that office and some middle-level supervision for staff, but just one administrator.
Okay, and in the job description, it says terms of employment, work year, and salary to be determined by the board. Is that the case? Does the board isn't negotiating that, it's going to be a recommendation from the administration, and then we just vote on it. So we're not really there is no determination by the board except by recommendation, is that correct?
Yes, the superintendent of schools recommends all personnel items, and the board votes on it, yea or nay.
Right. I wish we could sever sometimes the actual hiring of someone with the salary situation, because we're in charge of hiring people, but and I understand about getting recommendations from our administration. But again, going forward, I mean, I'll be voting tonight reluctantly, but going forward, we have to really press upon the administration about, curtailing some of management salaries, I think. Thank you.
Madam,
roll call,
roll call
please.
for personnel items A through BA, as moved by Mr. Ryback, seconded by Mrs. DeMayo. Mrs. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mr. Tefano.
Yes.
Mr. Pelori.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, personnel items A through BA has passed.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to board action items.
It is recommended that the board approve board action items A through R.
So moved.
Mr. Ryback?
Second.
Mrs. Lang? Comments or questions for Dr. Alvick?
I do have, all right, no, I'm fine.
Okay, roll call, Mr. Gorski.
Mr. Pelori.
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mr. Tefano.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through R has passed.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, at this time, we'll go to the business administrator's report. Mr. Gorski?
Thank you very much. Just want to report out a couple items of significance that have occurred over the summer. The first item is some of the construction that's going on in our schools. We are involved in a very large school vestibule enhancement project, which was directed by the board to fortify the entrances to the school with specific security upgrades that will hopefully strengthen the infrastructure and keep students and staff safe. We are also creating rooms within the budget, without borrowing from the public, to create additional classroom space. For example, at the middle school, we performed construction on 3 rooms, turning them into 6. So we doubled the amount of space in those schools. We did the construction within the budget, and it was performed by our in-house staff. So That's remarkable. And in the high school, as recommended by Mr. Zach Maralda, they repurposed the dark room because photography in dark rooms are, as my understanding goes, a little antiquated for the curriculum now. All of the aspects of the darkroom program will still be available to students if they wanted to learn about it, but the darkroom's being repurposed now to an additional classroom. So there's a lot of construction going on throughout the district with regard to creation of 4 additional classrooms and also enhancements of school vestibule projects and also replacements of major air conditioning units and water heater units, as we had reported from the committees. Additionally, I wanted to report out on a technology security incident that we learned about over summer break. And that is that the district had identified a ransomware attack that impacted the availability of some of our school systems. We immediately began an investigation, and we have been working diligently to secure our systems and bring them back online. All critical systems have been restored to operation, and we expect all systems for the rest of it to be ready by the start of school. Now, we put an insurance claim in as required when we learned about this incident because we didn't know the scope from the beginning. The insurance carrier provided 2 resources that are state-of-the-art. One is a global firm in dealing with malware, restoration, and fortification to prevent it from happening again. The other one is a large law firm with a specialty in privacy. And that's an important component because we wanted to make sure that the privacy attorney, the technological firm that's going to help with the restoration and the fortification, the work from our technology director, Dr. Alvick, and I, were all coordinated in a fashion so that an investigation was performed. We looked and checked, and we learned that some employee usernames and passwords may have been involved in this incident. So therefore, we forced all employees to change passwords, and we're going to also recommend the same for students when they come back. While our investigation is still ongoing, at this time we have not found any evidence to suggest that information was taken by the attacker from our school systems. This is where the privacy attorney really focused a lot of attention. It's very clear evidence when a computer file is copied and then extracted from our network. There is no evidence that that has happened at all. In fact, a particular ransomware that we experienced here has a history of just demanding a ransom and not doing anything malicious with the data, other than to encrypt it where they ask for a ransom. So, again, the investigation is still ongoing, but I want to point out that although this was an attack on our district and a crime that was committed, through the Herculean efforts of our transportation director, Kathleen McDonald, our fantastic long-time technology director, Mr. Reggie Washington, Dr. Alvick, Mary Smith, and our property and casualty broker, this was a shining moment for us because we've restored all of our systems for the most part, including a transportation server that required a great deal of overtime from Mrs. McDonald, taking a lot of her time over the summer, and that was without pay, of course. So our systems are safe. You can log on now. We will have more information to provide to staff upon their return to school, but we have recovered for the most part from this incident.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay. I had asked Dr. Alvick, and I'd like to ask in public, will there be a formal written report of the incident? I would ask that the board be provided with that. And if there's anything that needs to be redacted for security purposes, I have no problem. But I'd like to know what we thought happened, how it happened, if possible. I don't know, I know it's not finished yet. The people you engaged in terms of the attorneys and the security firms and the cost, please.
Certainly, I have no objection to that. If it pleases the board, I'll be happy to do so. But I can report now that both of the experts who are helping us as part of this investigation have determined that our prevention methods and our safeguards and our firewalls were more than adequate at the time of this attack. This was a very large institutional malware attack, and we have 8,000 users of our network, and it just takes one click on an attachment to compromise the system. But that was one of the questions I asked, and I received a very favorable response that what we had in place beforehand was more than sufficient and above what a lot of school districts provide.
So how long was the system down?
Since summer break until we're still restoring it now to minor extents, but all of the major systems are up and operational.
Not to labor this any further, Mr. Gorski, two questions. One is a police case has been filed, I assume?
The police were involved, Monroe Township Police, the prosecutor's office was involved, and the FBI was involved. The FBI worked with our team in identifying if there was a key to this ransom software that could be used. Unfortunately, there was not, but they have been reported of this and are still investigating on their end.
Thank you. Just a yes or no question, second one. Security breach, did that impact any of the emails we might have gotten for the ad hoc committee that probably didn't go through?
The answer is yes. The server for the email was disabled for a short period of time.
Okay.
Okay. You can have your report now.
Okay, so Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through L be approved by consent roll call.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Lang, Mr. Ryback, any comments or questions for Mr. Gorski?
I have one question.
Mr. Tefano?
On A, number 1 and number 3, although I recognize how important those programs are, did we send any of those programs out to bid, or is this a company we've used before?
Beg your pardon, you're referring to A, professional appointments, and?
A number 1
Yep.
and A number 3.
A number 3. There is no bidding requirements for those, as they are professional service contracts. And they are also below the bidding threshold. So no, there was no bidding, but there was always the taxpayer's interest at heart when the recommendations are made by our special ed director. She does a lot of shopping and comparative analysis when recommending these, and as do we when we receive them in the central office.
So basically, we got the lowest rate that she can find out there. Lowest possible rate.
I believe that's correct when it comes to the rate, but there's also a consideration for quality when it comes to these type of contracts.
Gotcha.
You know.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I'm done.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call, Mr. Gorski.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Pelori.
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Rudsky.
Yes.
Mr. Tefano.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, that concludes my report, and board action items A through L has passed. Thank you very much.
Okay, then we'll go to the board president's report, and I have two things. The first one is, upon receiving a notification this evening from Mr. Ken Chiarella, whereby he expressed his intent to resign immediately from the Monroe Township Board of Education, I hereby move to accept the resignation of Mr. Ken Chiarella from the Monroe Township Board of Education, effective immediately, and direct the board president and the business administrator board secretary to take all actions necessary to effectuate this action by the Board of Education.
So moved.
Mr. Ryback,
Second.
second by Ms. DeMayo. Are any comments or questions? Mr. Ryback?
I just want to thank Mr. Chiarella for his years of service and wish him well in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, he's been here a long time. He's done a lot for children. He will be missed here, but for whatever reason he feels that this is the time for him to leave, we have to support his decision. So if there's no other comments or questions, we'll have a roll call to accept the resignation of Mr. Chiarella.
Mrs. DeMayo,
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Tefano,
No.
Mr. Rutsky,
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio,
No.
Mr. Ryback,
Yes.
Mr. Pelori,
Yes.
Mrs. Lang,
Yes.
and Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, this is a simple motion, so it's the majority. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you
Can
very
I ask
much.
a procedural question?
Yes.
When somebody submits a resignation and you say you vote no against it, what is the cause of that? How would that serve the purpose?
If everybody voted no, Mr. Chiarella still has the right to
Come back?
resign, because
right to
we can't tell somebody they can't resign.
Just want to make sure.
Yes. And the second thing I have is, it's the time of year where we have to come up with board and district goals for this coming school year and start the budget process with our annual budget philosophy discussion. Since both of these topics might require lengthy discussions, especially the budget philosophy one, with administrative input, it was decided to do this on 2 separate days. Our next regular Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, September 4th, where we will create the goals for the 2019-2020 school year, both board goals and district goals. Our next regular board meeting isn't scheduled until Wednesday, October 16th, so we will be adding a special meeting to the calendar for Thursday, October 3rd, to discuss the budget philosophy. We, as a district, continue to expect an increase of our student population, which affects everything from classroom space to staffing to transportation to special education and many other areas. And this could be the year where we have to start making some very difficult financial decisions. There's a possibility that we will need to have trailers at the middle school and maybe, or the high school. We will be heading into negotiations with our bargaining units, and there are many things that this school district needs to be doing in the next year. In a capped budget, we need to begin looking at everything that goes into this budget and make sure that we balance the needs of our students and our fiscal responsibility to our community. So I encourage everyone in the public to come to the October 3rd board meeting, listen to the discussion that will begin the budget process. So at this time, we will go to other Board of Education business. Anyone from the Board of Education that has anything?
I'll make it really quick. First is, I just want to confirm what I heard today from the ad hoc committee chairman, Lou Masters, that he said that at the next meeting, he's going to come and talk about the plans that have been submitted. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, he's going to give us an update on the plans that probably we will be discussing tomorrow.
Okay. The second item is that I think there's a perception that in the committee meetings, we vote on resolutions and pass resolutions. That's not my understanding. I think we just discuss the items and then we vote on them in the public session.
It is, our committee meetings are working meetings. That's where the administration brings us issues, information, and we discuss them. We never vote in committee meetings. It would be inappropriate to vote on committee meetings, and if the committee recommends moving forward, it gets put on the agenda, and that's where we vote. Otherwise, the committee can turn around and ask for more information, so it doesn't get on the agenda until the committee feels that the appropriate measures have been taken to make sure that they have everything they need.
The last item is I want to thank Dr. Alwick and the staff for conducting very efficiently, although we cut it out of the budget, the freshman orientation. Thank you very much, and congratulations on a good job.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? Ms. Arminio?
I'd like to just make mention in regards to the Open Public Meetings Act that, and I certainly adhere to closed session and privacy and protecting our students and private issues, private. But the Open Public Meetings Act says that public discussion is confined to the portion of the agenda in closed session unless permission is granted by board president prior to the start of the meeting when the board is considering, I'm sorry, I'm not going to read that again. From my memory, the Open Public Meetings Act says that we can go into closed session, and when such time as the closed session item is resolved and deemed finished, then the public can be made aware of it. So closed session items are not permanently closed to the public. And so I would like to say, to put a resolution out saying that the Board of Education will provide more detailed on the discussions and deliberations at committee meetings and in closed session, and after closed session when the public has, when the need of the public is greater than our need to keep it private, when things are resolved. So I will make two resolutions. One, to provide more comprehensive details on discussion and deliberation at committee meetings and post them. That's a first resolution.
Do you want to make that into a motion?
I would like to make that into a motion.
Well, then please do, so
Okay,
that
make
we
a
have
motion to
that.
provide more detailed information in writing on discussion and deliberation at committee meetings and post them on our board docs.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll have discussion on that motion.
I honestly don't understand what the motion stands for, but I think I do understand the fact that the meeting minutes that are being created and read in this meeting should be posted on the board docs. I completely agree with that. What more is being asked as a part of this resolution?
According to school boards, and school boards was here, and we asked them that question, we put more into our minutes than most of the other school districts in the state of New Jersey. It goes through New Jersey school boards, we follow the law, we follow what our board attorney tells us. She goes through all the minutes before they come to us for approval at our board meetings. We are doing nothing that we should not be doing. We're doing more than we should be doing. We're giving more information. Minutes of a meeting are not a dialogue between people. It is minutes of a meeting. It's like, this is what happened at a meeting. It's not supposed to be who said what and who is arguing with who and who voted yes for this, because we don't vote in meetings. So as far as I've seen, and I've gone to school boards, and I know that other people have gone to school boards and have specifically asked this question, we are doing everything appropriately. Mr. Mayo?
I don't understand how we can give more information, because in this meeting right here, we gave the minutes of the meeting. You were very thorough in your minutes, Patty was very thorough in her minutes, Steve was very thorough, and I was very thorough. They were very comprehensive. So if anybody wants to know what went on in the committee meetings, all they have to do is watch this. And the meetings it's very comprehensive. I mean, there was no discussion when it came to curriculum. You know, the supervisor of mathematics talked to us, and we listened, and we asked some questions, and then we moved on to the next one. It wasn't a big, in-depth, the information is about the curriculum. It's really, that's where the information is, and the presentation of all the minutes was very thorough here, and if someone is interested in knowing what went on in the meetings, all they have to do is watch this, and watch the part about the committee reports.
Or come to the committee meetings.
Or come to the committee meetings, because they're open to the public.
Well, the gentleman who came up there and complained about it said that he was at the committee meeting and not everything that he heard at a committee meeting was in our minutes. So,
Exactly, because that would be a verbatim conversation, and that's not what committee minutes are.
He's saying that there were some subjects that were left out. So if some subjects are left out, we're not giving all the information possible. Verbatim is impossible to do unless somebody's actually recording it. We know we can't do that. But if he's saying that some information's left out.
Well, we don't know exactly what information he is saying that was left out
we
either.
But if that's a complaint, we need to address his complaint, or the public's complaint in general, if that's,
But we post all of our regular board meeting minutes on the website. And we said as of July 2019, we will be posting all of our committee meetings on the website also. Mrs. Lang?
That leads me to a question, because I do a committee report, a written one, and I send it out to the committee members every month, but it doesn't get posted. Is that
does.
something? Okay, it does get posted, so it's not something that I'm supposed to be
The committee
doing?
meeting that you sent me last month was posted to Board Docs.
Thank you. Okay, because I didn't see the one, I'll have to resend August, but that's okay. I personally, I'd like
I
to.
haven't seen August yet.
That's
I did
okay, I'll
July.
just resend it. I think that the idea of passing this resolution without talking to our board attorney and making sure is short-sighted. Making sure that we're following the laws, making sure we set up the guidelines as appropriate. I'd like to table this resolution and bring it back to Mary Smith so that we could discuss, if there's anything else that we have to add to it.
So you have a motion to table?
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Ms. DeMayo. So we will have a roll call on the motion to table.
Can we get comment on?
I don't know that you
It's
can
a-
comment.
It's a priority
No,
motion.
you have
If it's
to
a
just
motion to
vote.
table, we got to go right to the vote.
Right.
Motion to table.
Go right to the vote.
Mr. Ryback?
Yes.
Mrs. Lang?
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mr. Tefano?
No.
Mr. Pelori?
Yes.
Mrs. Arminio?
No.
Mr. Rutsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Siegel?
Yes.
Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, the yeas have it, the motion has been tabled.
Thank you. Ms. Arminio, did you have a second motion?
No, I will reconsider my next motion, thank you.
Okay.
I would like to make a statement, though. I have on many occasions asked for an analysis between the state constructing a school. I mean, when we were going through the referendums, and I'm repeating this probably for the fifth time in public, I would hope that the analysis would be brought to the board members in committee and also given to the ad hoc committee. The analysis between if the state constructed our school, which is probably not feasible, and our referendum's proposals. So a comparison between those two things.
I believe it was sent to the ad hoc committee, that the information was sent to the ad hoc committee, or?
Yes, administration was acting on Mrs. Arminio's request, and it was determined that so not to circumvent the work of the ad hoc committee, which this subject matter certainly pertains to, that it would be presented at the ad hoc committee.
So the ad hoc
From there, it
committee.
could certainly come to the board.
So the ad hoc committee got it and I did not, or the board did not? Just yes or no?
No,
No.
They did not
they
get it?
did not get it. It was to be brought to the committee as a recommendation to see if they would consider it. That's what was going, that's what was
Okay.
happening.
All I wanted is an analysis. I'm not asking that the state,
It's not
want
as
an
easy
analysis.
as just doing that. That was the issue. That's what we.
There's a lot of
talked
things
about.
that are not very easy for us to do, but we do at the request of some board members. But thank you very much.
Any other board business? Mrs. Lang?
On July 31st, I attended our county school board meeting. I just wanted to give you guys an update. We voted on the new county president, vice president, secretary. I forgot their names. But what I thought was really exciting that we're going to be doing is that we sat and we actually talked about what kind of trainings we wanted as county school boards, and we're going to try to be doing more sharing between each other and having meetings where we would bring, like say, I would bring our business administrator and our head of security so that we could talk a little bit about what we're doing in our district and get input from other districts so that we could bring it back and forth for different things. So we talked about doing that with the vaping policy. We talked about doing that with equity and learning more about what equity means and with school finance. So I just wanted to give everyone an update for that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, then we'll go to public forum. Anyone from the public forum wishing to speak, please come to the microphone and give your name and address for the record.
Chrissy Skirby, 21 Preakness Drive. Since it was mentioned here that Mr. Chiarella had resigned his position to the board, I'd like to read a message that Ken had sent. to Monroe Township residents, friends, and Monroe Township Board of Education. I have recently been struck with a series of illnesses, starting with a surgery in May that has taken me away from being able to serve this district the way it deserves to be served. Hopefully, when I'm well again, I will be able to resume my volunteer activities in some capacity. Serving the residents of Monroe Township is my passion, second only to being a dad to my children and a husband to Raquel. After much consideration and another health setback that requires another small surgery, I have decided to resign my position to the Monroe Township Board of Education effective immediately. My term ends December of 2019. I will also not seek re-election at this time. I will be withdrawing my name from consideration for the November election. I want to thank the people of Monroe Township for allowing me to serve you, and I promise to return if you will have me when I am well again. Thank you, Ken Chiarella. I hope Mr. Chiarella gets well again, and I think this board should acknowledge that he has resigned due to health reasons, not reasons that you have no idea about.
I did not say I had no idea why he resigned.
Yes, you did.
I did not.
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. It is sad to know that Ken has resigned from the Board of Education, but his health and family is very important. And we also thank for his contribution, open discussions. Always you need some challenges so that best comes out of the board, okay? Not that we vote on the party lines, yes, yes, yes. It is always, it's the issue and passion. You guys are elected with passion and emotions, with ideas. So go and please do that, continue to do that. What today I would like to talk about is, you know, our budgets are getting tight because we are not getting funding from the state. Every meeting we come and talk, you all discuss, you all have passion. So first of all, before going there, the enrollment, every agenda I come, the enrollment in each school, what is the enrollment compared to last year is projected. I missed this in this agenda, and it is very important for the ad hoc committee as a public we sit. So I have the information from the June. I don't know why it was not posted this month. The enrollment in each elementary, high school, and middle school, July 2019 versus 2018. I don't know why it was not posted. So you can, afterward you can comment after my 5 minutes or 4 minutes. I'd like to know that answer to the public. First of all, you know, I read the letter which was sent to Governor Linda Greenstein and everyone by the ad hoc committee and signed by our president, Kathy. You know, we give a background. We know what is happening with enrollment growth. We know what is transportation they are not funding first. We know what is there with our special education. We know all these things. But the last bang you have to give, which is missing in this letter, very good summary. What we have to tell them is, guys, from 2008, you have not given us the money according to the formula. So for last 10 years, we have lost about $60 million to $65 million. We never got from them, okay? We have to stress that. And there are 3 legislations. I have been telling you all. There are 3 good legislations on special education. They are there. You would have talked about it, especially S3219, okay, which will help us in special education funding. And I talked to, you know, Assemblyman Benson. If that bill is passed in this December, I bet you these 3 bills are passed, we will get at least $4 to $5 million in the next budget. So let us be strategic and push for that. So I request that in the next letter, summarize and push what we are not getting. We are not the expert but the law, but already the bills are there. So we have to lobby for these bills. If we don't lobby, we are not going to get money, okay? So I request you to do that. And also suing the state, because already we get complaints, we get sued by the parents because we are not adequately serving the special education, because the law, there are a lot of things we have to do for the special education. We try our the best. Our school is doing best for the special education, but we are inadequate in certain category. So we should take that point and sue the state. You're not adequately funding our special education. They're giving just $2.5 million. So I think the letter has to be strong enough. Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else from the public?
My name is Audrey Cornish. I live at 431 Schoolhouse Road. I have been watching you on TV, and the reason I'm here is that I've been listening to complaints over and over again. Why is the town overbuilding? What can we do about overbuilding? Well, I can tell you right now, I have a property that my neighbor and I were going to sell for open space because Parker has destroyed the animals that live behind us. We have deer and turkey and fox and turtles and all that. So we were gonna sell our land for open space. The town chose to buy the swamp. They chose to buy wetland, knowing that we're going to put 19 houses on that property if they didn't buy it. They prefer you to have 19 houses and them to buy swampland for open space. Now, I realize who I'm talking to. I know that open space means nothing to this town because you built a high school on open space. That was supposed to be open space into perpetuity. But you didn't do that. There were 3 places the state said you could have built that high school. One of them was T&J. All those townhouses are your fault. And stop complaining about where all these kids come from, because you don't do anything about going to council meetings and making sure that these things don't continue to happen. All 3 places where the state said that you could have had a high school are now built up. There was one off of Applegarth Road, and there was one by that park in the middle of town that the state, we took around this road with them in the car. And these places were going to be okayed by the state, but you preferred to build a school in a park on land that was supposed to be here for perpetuity. People, the taxpayers that voted for open space, think it's into perpetuity. But there's a little codicil, everybody, that after 20 years they can reevaluate. So all of the state's open space is up for grabs because we broke precedent. This town was the one that broke precedent because we had 42 miles to build a high school, and we built it on open space. And that's why you get rejected from the state. They're not going to give you any money. They were here. They saw. And the town chose. I don't even blame you. It's the voters, the people that don't pay attention of what is going on in this town. And I just want you to know this. I don't care if they buy my property. I'm going to make a whole lot more money with 19 houses than I ever will with open space money. So I'm going to be the richer for it. But you're going to be the poorer for it because all those animals are going to have no place to go. We were offering this to the town, and they chose to choose swampland over land that could be built on. And it goes on over and over again. And it's the town's fault. You keep voting for the same people. What do you expect, a different result? You keep voting for them, you're going to get what you get. And I don't care, I'm moving.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Okay, at this time, we will close public forum. And our next scheduled Board of Education meeting is scheduled for September 4th, 2019, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Monroe Township High School. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Pelori?
Aye.
Second by Mr. Ryback. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then at this time, the meeting is adjourned.